I have definitely been very prolific over the last month. I started sewing these on the 13th of June. Today's the 14th of July. Alexa, what's the date?
It's Friday the 14th of July.
So yes, in technically a calendar month, I have sewn 17 things. 7 of them are brand new and 10 are refashions, and given how much I hate doing refashions, I'm fairly impressed with that. I had a theme of fruity fabrics for the month of June and I definitely accomplished that. I think I actually sewed everything that I said I was going to in my June plans as well, which rarely happens. I am going to talk you through them in order, and the first thing that I got done were the fruity refashions, because we all know how I feel about alterations, and I just thought I need to get these done and out of the way because I hate doing them. Turns out when you're actually completely taking the bodice off and it's not an alteration, it's more of a complete restyle, actually quite a lot of fun. So this is the Vogue 8577 bodice in the cotton sateen, Telio cotton sateen turquoise background. This fabric I absolutely love. I bought it ages ago. I sewed the skirt up. It's a 3/4 circle skirt with button up placket on the front. Sewed that up probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and I've just never worn it. And I had enough fabric left that I was going to make a blouse and wear the two together. It just never happened. So I decided to take the waistband off, make up the 8577 as a bodice, put that on and call it good. And I love how this has turned out, and it's going to get worn frequently now. I don't know why, I just prefer dresses. I do have a couple of skirt shirt combos coming up, so this is what I had envisioned for this, but I'm very glad that I've turned this one into a dress. Absolutely love this. There were a few shirt dress options that I could have chosen, but I really like the 8577. It's a really easy bodice to do and none of the pieces in it are too huge. Whilst I had a decent amount of fabric left over, there wasn't a lot of the full width of the fabric, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't have huge pieces to cut out. Really happy with how this one's turned out. Definitely will wear this one. Next up was my second refashion. Now again, if you've watched my skirt clear out video, you will know that I had 6 skirts in that wardrobe that just never got worn and that I knew I could turn into dresses because I had fabric left over. This one is leftover fabric. It's a stripe and then an all over lemon print that I'd use for another dress. I had bought 3 yards of each. I used most of the all over lemons, but I had a lot of the stripe left, so I made an 8-panel circle skirt because I wanted to try and make a striped skirt. Really like how it turned out. Never wore it. I had, as I say, enough fabric left, so I cut out this bodice and I attempted to chevron the front. I did try and pattern match the straps to the chevrons on the front, and I really like how that turned out. I didn't do such a good job on the back because I was just trying to chevron the back, which I succeeded at, but it occurred to me that if I'd moved things over a little bit, then the straps would have, or the pattern would have continued in the straps, which I think would look really cool. And I did use this, not the knowledge gained from this one, for a dress that's coming up in a minute. Again, this is the KB Grace dress bodice. I really like how this has turned out, and this skirt will now get worn because it's a dress and I prefer dresses. I'm going to say that a lot this video, sorry. Next up we have my first brand new make for the month. This is the McCall's 7974. This is a quilting cotton. I had 3 yards of it and it's one that I really like. The yellow is a really pretty yellow and I just absolutely love strawberry prints. I'm not going to go into too great a detail about these dresses because I'm going to be doing a standalone video on all the 7974s that I've made and how different fabrics make them look different and how you can do different things with the sleeves. This one was the first one that I'd made for my original pattern. I put it on and it actually ended up being way too big at the sides here, so I had to take it in, take it apart, alter it and then adjust the pattern, which I did do for the other 3. And I'm so glad I didn't do my usual thing of cut everything out in one go because I do like a good cutting out session. I had cut out the bodice for this, the bodice for the lemon dress, and then this all in one go. So yeah, very glad that I had made this one up, realised that I need to alter the pattern, did that for the next 3 and they've come out beautifully if I say so myself, and I love how this one looks. It's a quilting cotton, so it does look very different to the other 3, which you'll be seeing in a second. Very happy with this. We'll talk more about it in the video. The next one I made is probably one of my favourite dresses that I have maybe ever made. I love this fabric so much. It's the Rifle Paper Company Primavera rayon with the oranges on it, and I bought 5 meters of this from Sister Mintaka, I think it was. I also bought 2.5 meters of the lemon print because that was the amount that they had left. I love how this has turned out. I do have a decent amount of this fabric left for a top of some description. Not sure what I'm going to do with it yet because it is very, very sheer. So I have fully lined this dress, but again, I will be going into more details about these dresses in the 7974 video, which is going to be coming very, very soon. I just have to sew some motifs onto the plain one, which you'll see in just a second. This is again the 7974, this time in the Fabric Godmother viscose linen with strawberries all over it. I love how this has turned out. Again, this one was very sheer, so I have fully lined it in a ivory viscose twill and actually Maricane. I went for twill for the bodice and Maricane for the skirt. This fabric was really, really nice to work with. I'm very pleased with how this has turned out. Can't wait to wear it. And the last 7974 that I got made in June is this one. This is the white viscose twill all over, and I have lined the bodice in the viscose twill and again the skirt in the viscose Maricane because it's just slightly lighter weight. There is a slight issue with the hem of this dress. It's not quite sitting flush, so I do need to unpick, have a tweak of that and re-hem it. Also, it's got my hair all over it but it also needs a press stud at the waistband. So the Patreon peeps voted for self-covered buttons for this one because of the trimming that I'm planning on doing with it. I have got some beautiful embroidered motifs that I am going to attach to this dress to make it look like a Hope and Ivy dress, or a dress inspired by Hope and Ivy. I tweaked the sleeves. It's the same sleeves as on the orange one, but I made them into flutter sleeves and I really like how that looks with this style. I like it sleeveless, I like it with the long sleeves, I like it with the tie-up sleeves. I'm not a fan of the lantern sleeves, just personal preference, but these flutter sleeves are another option and I really like how they've come out. Making 28 self-covered buttons this size was not the most fun I've ever had in the world, but it was really, really worth it. They do look awesome. So thank you very much to the Patreon peeps for voting for that option, because left to my own devices, I think I probably would have put shell buttons on it. Again, not quite finished with this one. Press stud at the waist, finish the hem, and then all of the appliques need to be sewn on, and you'll be seeing that in the standalone video, which hopefully will be coming as soon as I finished all of those little tweaks. All of those little tweaks. Yeah, all that work. Lots of work, but it will be totally worth it. So I did actually get those all sewn in June, and that white one was finished on the 29th of June. So I fully intended to do this lookbook and photography session, get the photos up on Instagram and enter the So Fruity 2023 challenge. Did I do that? No, I did not. It's the 14th of July and I'm just getting around to it now. Whoops. But I had completed 5 fruity items in June, so I'm classing that as a win for me, because I usually see these hashtags, think, oh, that's a really good idea, and then just watch the deadline sail right past. So the fact that I managed to complete 5 within the deadline, even though I didn't photograph them and get them up online, I'm classing that as a win. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'd also got 6 skirts that I brought down that I wanted to change because I just never wore them. I also had a couple of dresses that I had picked out of the wardrobe because they just never got worn either, and I was going to donate them, but I remembered that I had a decent amount of fabric for 2 of them, so I was hoping I could alter them, and I did. First up is this absolutely beautiful Morning Glory Timeless Treasures Quilt and Cotton. It had been another dress. I had actually done an alteration video with this dress and this dress here, but I have lost even more weight since I did those, and there was no way to make that bodice fit me at my current size without taking it completely apart and resewing it. I didn't really want to do that because we all know how I feel about alterations. So I decided to make a completely new bodice for it out of the remaining fabric that I had and just attach it to the skirt, which has worked really, really well. I went for the KB Grace bodice because it's a really small pattern pieces and I didn't have loads of fabric left. I love how this has turned out, and again, this is one that is now going to get worn frequently, and this print is absolutely beautiful. So I'm so glad that I've managed to make something that I'm going to wear out of it and it not languish in my wardrobe forevermore. So really pleased with this one. My fancy spoonflower fabric, again, same story. I'd actually made a skirt. This is my 5-panel circle skirt tutorial for directional prints. I erred on the side of caution, had made it way too big, altered it, made it into a skirt that fit me, and then promptly never wore it. I had enough fabric left. I've got enough fabric left, so much so that I cut this bodice out, and I've also cut out a shirt to go over it, which is not finished yet, and a bunch of bias binding. I've got got 6 meters of bias binding out of this as well. And I have enough scraps left over to make a lining for a small bag, which I'm really pleased about because I absolutely love this print. As I say, it's a Spoonflower cotton sateen. I will link to the print down below. I love this, and I'm so pleased that I've changed it into a dress because, again, it's going to get worn now. Really happy with how this has turned out. This one was the 16 panelled chevroned circle skirt with a striped fabric. This is not a regular stripe, so whilst the lines are pretty good, if you look really close, some of them don't line up properly or completely because the line is organic, not dead straight. After the lemon dress, I worked out that I could match the straps on the front chevron and the back chevron, and I'm really pleased with how that's come out. Again, I never wore this skirt. I actually made a completely matching shirt for it from the all over print fabric and hated how they looked together, so this never got picked out of the wardrobe and never got worn. Now it's a dress, it totally will. So again, really happy with this one. Another border print. We all know how I feel about border prints. This is a Michael Miller, I think it's called Tropical Splash. Now this one, the excess fabric that I had left over just went into Mum's quilting stash, so I went into my stash and I happened to have a bolt of white quilting cotton, so I cut off enough to cut the outer and lining for the Grace bodice, washed it because I do not want the bodice to shrink the first time it gets washed and be unwearable and me have to make it again, because again, we all know how I feel about alterations. Lots of people were saying that I should play around and pick out colours from the border print and bring those into the bodice. And whilst I really like that idea, I wanted to work with what I had immediately, and I also didn't want to take away from the border print by putting colour up at the top. Now, this isn't a stark white, but it definitely kind of leaning more on the white side than it is the ivory side, so it's not technically a great colour for me because I am not a true winter, which apparently is one of the only seasons that can wear true white. However, this is, as you can see, a very low cut sweetheart neckline, which I think keeps the colour far enough away from my face that I don't need to worry about the colour seasons too much. Not that you have to worry about it. If you don't want to, you wear what you like, of course. But the other thing I can do is put on a chunky gold necklace or some colourful jewellery that matches one of the colours in the print of the bottom, and I think that will look really nice. So very simple alteration to this one. Again, just a brand new bodice in a plain fabric, really effective, and now again this will get worn. This one was a dress. It was the Vogue 1743, I think I have that number right. I had been really careful with the print placement of the border prints, which I have used for the pockets, but I also used it for the yoke of that bodice. I really liked it. I just never really wore it because the darts just are weird on that bodice. They're a good inch above the apex. We checked. It's not just me that thinks this is weird. They are strange darts and I have not been able to get them to work. I've tried. There's another dress coming up to show that I've tried. So I ended up taking the bodice off and using what fabric I had left to cut out the Grace bodice. Now again, I used the Grace because it's got such small pattern pieces. I would possibly have liked to put the kind of blue motif in the center, but I actually didn't have enough fabric to properly place that, so I've gone for kind of the pink one again. I have tried to be thoughtful about the print placement on the side panels, and then I did try and pattern match across the centre back zip. This is the all over print, and then there is a stripe that comes with it, which is what I've used for these pockets. Then this little bit of the pocket here is what I've used for the waistband. So it does come from the same fabric line, so obviously it matches perfectly. This is a much narrower waistband than I technically like, but because of the print placement, if I'd gone any wider, I'd have ended up with stray bits of other prints creeping in, and I thought that would be more distracting. So this is sitting a little bit above my waist, which is not my preference, but I really like how this looks. And again, now that it's a dress that fits me well, I will wear this. So this fabric, again, I had made it into the same dress that I'd used for my Morning Glory print. It was a square neckline one. I'll put the pattern up for you. I had enough fabric left over after I'd cut out my 5-panel circle skirt, the bodice, to make a shirt, which is why when I came to repurpose the dress, I decided to make it into a skirt. Now, having just said all the things I've said about these ones and how I didn't wear them as skirts, I thought because I had the matching shirt, whilst they probably will never get worn as separates with other things, they will get worn together and they do look like a dress. So I took the bodice off of this and then literally cut out 3-inch wide strips to make the waistband from the bodice. So this waistband is pieced in lots and lots of places. There's a seam right there over the purple flowers. So that was because I had literally nothing left. I had turned what little I had left of this one into bias binding after I'd cut out the shirt. I'm really pleased with how this has looked. I'm really pleased that I have decided to do this and turn this into a skirt, even though I don't wear skirts very often. Together they look like a dress, and I think they will actually get worn now, both pieces, which is awesome. Same kind of deal with this one. This was the 7143. I think I have that number right, but with me trying something different with the bodice, and it was the Butterick Lizette coat and dress pattern. I tried that one because it had a yoke on it and I thought, oh, that's kind of similar. Again, it was designed for a very different fit from what I would like. It wasn't as close a fit, and it was designed with sleeves on it, so this one didn't really work, and I ended up with weird things going on the underarm, which I didn't like. Rather than donate it, I decided to cut the bodice off, or rip the bodice off, cut the bodice apart to make the waistband, which I did need to do because I had enough fabric to make a shirt out of it when I was cutting the dress out previously. So again, with these two together, I think it looks very dress-like, and it's something that I can definitely see myself wearing. Again, if I reach for these individually is kind of debatable, probably not. I've not worn this since I've made it by itself, but now that I have a matching skirt, I can see myself wearing this. My final alteration is the 8577 skirt in Shell Bouquet, a calf facet print. I bought this at one of the shows. I knew I wanted to make this skirt with it. This fabric was expensive, so I only bought 3 meters, I think. Had to shorten the skirt by 2 inches because the 8577 quite long. Made it up into a skirt and then never wore it. I even made a specific t-shirt in a pink to go with this. Still never wore it. It's a really, really lovely fabric. It's a really, really lovely skirt. I bought more fabric to make a shirt, thinking I would do the thing that I was doing with these, and I thought, you know what, let's just turn it into a dress. Let's just turn it into the 8577 because I wear that dress. I love that dress, and I'm so glad that I did. I love how this has turned out. It's epic. The only difference with this one is I haven't fully lined the skirt. I've bound all the edges with bias binding and French seams, because I was just like, the 8577 is fully lined. I don't know why I was thinking that because it was a skirt I wasn't going to fully line it. So that's the only difference with this one. So the skirt's not quite maybe as poofy as the other ones that I have are. Mind you, this one's not fully lined either, but this isn't the same. This isn't the 8577 skirt. This is the 3/4 circle skirt on this one. Yeah, maybe not quite as poofy as my other ones, but it is still absolutely gorgeous. Love this print, and really, really happy that now this is a dress, it's gonna get worn, because it will be. Okay, this one's not 100% finished yet. This is the Butterick 5951. I think I have that number right. It is the 2.5 meters of the Paper Rifle Company Primavera Lemon print. Now, as I said earlier when I was talking about the orange one, I bought 2.5 meters of this because that was all Sister Mintaka had. It's been in the top section pretending it was going to be a shirt all this time. I don't wear separates, as we've established, so it's one of those ones where it's like, I love the fabric, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I probably won't wear it as a shirt though. What am I going to do with it? So I scoured the internet and I found somebody that does have 3 yards of this left to buy, and I was like, ooh, do I buy that 3 yards and then make the dress of my dreams? And then I thought, ooh, I managed to get this dress out of 2.5 meters of fabric before that I had from La Mazzi. So I wonder if I could do that. And so during one of the hangouts, we got the fabric out, we got the pattern out, and it just fit. There is on one of the seams of the skirt, if I can find it. Oh, don't tell me it's down the centre front. Come on, where is it? I know one of the seams. Yeah, here we go. It's got the selvage print running into the seam. I also didn't have enough fabric for the 3/4 length sleeve or the full sleeve, so I decided to do these little cap sleeves, which I just had enough fabric for. These are from a La Carla pattern, which again I will list down below for you. I love how this has turned out. Now this isn't hemmed, it's still doing its biasy thing on the hem, and again this fabric is super, super sheer, so it's fully lined bodice and skirt, so that it isn't you know, I don't have to wear a slip underneath of this if I don't want to, although I generally do. I love how this has turned out. It's also made me go through and dig out some of my shorter lengths of fabric that are precious to me that I bought because I couldn't not have the print but couldn't quite get enough to make a proper dress from. And now that I know I can get this out of 2.5 meters of narrow fabric, because this was narrow, I'm very, very happy. So there's going to be a bunch more 5951s coming your way. Just need to hem it, then I can wear it. And then the final thing I made by the middle of July is my Christmas PJs. Christmas in July is a thing, right? The Patreon peeps again back in December, or no, November, voted for this combination of the Carolyn pyjamas and this cotton poplin from Minerva with strawberries all over it. I've gone for a white flat pipe, green flat piping, hello. Mum even took a square of this fabric to the shop to double check she was getting the right green to match the little leaves on the strawberries. I love how these have turned out. I have lengthened the sleeve a little bit and maybe it's a touch too much, but I prefer a longer sleeve than a sleeve that's slightly too short because I like to kind of like burrow into my shirts. I've also raised up the waistline on the trousers so that they hit on my natural waist, because the Carolyn pyjamas actually are kind of like hip level, and I have made them before and my friend has them now because I just don't wear them. They're lovely but they're not for me, so these are now waist level pyjamas. I love how these have turned out. I think they're absolutely awesome. I think I probably will, if I make these again, make a tweak. It's drafted and sewn without facing along the back neckline, which is okay, but it's super fiddly, and I don't think not having that back facing in there is worth how fiddly it is to sew the collar as it is. Again, personal preference. I hate facings. We all know this. So yeah, the fact that I'm gonna probably draft a facing to put back in there just shows how much I didn't enjoy the experience. I've also added on the little heart buttons that I got from Lynn from Aussie Blackbeard from the giveaway that she did years ago now. Still haven't used the fabric, but I have used the buttons now and I love how they look on this. I'm really pleased with these. I only ever wear these kind of pyjamas on Christmas Day, which is why they're my Christmas PJs. But thank you very much to the Patreon peeps for voting for this combo. I love it and I'm so pleased these are finally done because they've been cut out for ages. So yeah, feeling very virtuous. That is it. 17 sewn items, 7 new, 10 alterations. For me that's impressive because we all know how I feel about alterations, so I'm really happy with the outcome of all the sewing from the last month. I was going to just show you the things that I'd made in June because I was really pleased with the 6 things that I'd got done in June, but I decided to get them all done through today, and I will be doing a much more condensed July plans video because obviously it's the 14th of July, so I've got half of the month left to get the things sewn that I want to. Let me know in the comments down below which of these sewn items is your favourites, and what do you think of my alterations now that I've turned all those skirts into dresses and then 2 dresses into skirts. Do you think I'm going to wear them more? I definitely do. We will have to see once they've been put back into my wardrobe whether they get reached for. I think they're going to. I think it was a good idea. Let me know in the comments down below which is your favourite make from the last month and why. I have to say, I think for me it's the Primaveras, the 5951 in lemons and then the 7974 in the oranges. I love that print and I love both of those dresses and how they've turned out. I also love the fact that I'm going to have enough for a top from the remainder of the orange print, even though I don't wear tops. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out this one here.